you. I will present first the need of a cold chain preserving food, then the state of the art of the cold chain in developed and developing countries, and then the challenges we have. So, as you certainly know, each product that has its own lifetime for sanitary, nutrition, and organoleptic qualities, depending on the nature of the product. And I mentioned the main products we are interested in: meat, fish and seafood, milk and dairy products, fruits and vegetables. The initial and microbiological conditions, and it is the reason that when we have a cold chain, the most important point is the weakest point, because it degrades all the things. And the temperature it is stored and transported. I would like to insist, because even if the problems are a little different, the solutions are similar and the infrastructures are similar. It is the same with many health products. I mean, for instance, vaccines or the new biological health products, which are fast increasing in developed countries. And there are a lot of sanitary problems because of vaccines. For instance, majority of them are less efficient because of a poor cold chain in the developing countries, according to the World Health Organization. As well as plants and flowers, of course, there is not the same kind of healthy problem, but it can have also an economic importance, for instance, in the Netherlands, in Kenya, and so on. So you have here a kind of figure, but I would like to insist on the fact that you have a first place, which is the production place, which is can be a factory, but also a farmer. Then you have transport, you have storage at different stages, and you have the final point, which is either a restaurant or a household. And well, here just a figure you certainly know, the fact that in developed countries we have a stagnating population, but in developing countries we will still have a very important increase in the population. And I will focus more on developing countries than on developed countries. And within developing countries, you have, of course, an important difference between country by country. I will give you some examples. So we have a problem of an increasing population in developing countries, but we have also a very important difference between developing and developed countries regarding all the infrastructures on the cold chain. For instance, you have something which is about roughly 10 more capacities in the fridge storage or number of domestic refrigerators at an average in developed countries compared to developing countries. A factor of 10. And if you see the food losses, and I would like to insist on the fact that in these tables, you don't take into account the food losses at the consumer level. When I mean the consumer level, it is the restaurant, it is the people in the houses, and at this consumer level, the food losses are higher in developed countries than in developing countries. It is about 10%, 50%, it depends on the countries. But it is another issue which is important in developed countries, much more than in developing countries. I would concentrate the discussion on the cold chain before the consumer. And before the consumer, so you have a factor of 3 between developed countries and developing countries. And most of the problems we have is the loss of perishable foods through a lack of refrigeration. And for instance, you see the figures. You have the following figures. In developed countries, the loss of perishable foods through a lack of refrigeration are 9% and 23% in developing countries. You have more information about all these figures. I did not do anything, and okay. Next, I think it is the next one. So you have more information on various documents we are publishing. Some of them are on the booth, the desk, registered desk, and we have also other documents for our members. So here you have region by region, the capacity of cold storage warehouses by world region, and of course you see the difference between, for instance, North America and Sub-Saharan Africa, which are the most important ones. I would like more focus on these figures, which are FAO figures, because we work now a lot with FAO, and it is a joint publication, FAO-IAR. For instance, even in Sub-Saharan Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa is the region of the world where the situation is the worst one. You have Ethiopia and United Republic of Tanzania, for instance. It is very different than Namibia, and then of course on South Africa. So even in the same region of the world, you have a lot of different, important differences. And the second table is interesting because you see that even in these countries, you have an increase of the production of fruits, vegetables, roots and tubers, meat, milk, fish, capture and aquaculture. There are countries where you have problems, nutrition problems, you have undernourishment populations. Fortunately, you have an increase of the production of these various products, but it is not enough to face the challenge of undernourishment and the face of the challenge of the increasing population, because the population is very fast increasing in Sub-Saharan Africa as well as in South Asia. So one of the problems we have is not only to preserve food, but also by itself, but also to preserve food because it will be an incentive for people to produce more food. If you have less food which is preserved, it is not interesting to continue to produce food. I mean, it is so you have you have more. It is not only interesting to preserve food because you will avoid, you will increase the production by itself, but also because it will be more interesting for the agriculture, the farmers to produce things which will be preserved at the end. And while other figures, for instance, for refugee transport, it is the same kind of problems. You have electric vehicles and electric containers. You have the figures per inhabitant in Europe, in China, in India. And of course, you have the same kind of problems as I mentioned regarding domestic refrigeration or cold storage. Well, what are the challenges? First, increasing the food supply. If we had the same level in developing compared to developed countries, we could increase the production by 15%, only in preserving food. A part of the good incentive you could have if you preserve food, because it will be more interesting for people to produce food if it is well preserved. A part of that, only the same level of preservation of food in compared to developed countries, not the perfect cold chain, because of course in developed countries you also have some food which is lost. Of course, better health, because you have the quality of food is better, not only because of sanitary issues, but also, for instance, nutrition issues, so better health, and also reducing the carbon footprint. We would like to reduce the electricity consumption, and thanks to a better energy efficiency, or thanks to the use of renewables, we have to phase out HFCs and to phase down HFCs, as you know. Well, these figures were published last year. Well, I'm not sure about the quality of all the assumptions which are behind that, but I think that the general figure is interesting and is good. I mean, you have a carbon footprint due to all the chain between the production and the consumer. You have a carbon footprint which could be reduced because of the carbon footprint due to the food which is lost. When you produce some food which is finally lost, you will have a lot of uses of, for instance, energy to produce the food, to transport, to store the food, which is totally lost if the product finally is wasted. And at the contrary, when you have a cold chain, you have an increase of emissions due to the use of electricity and due to the use of refrigerants. And in these figures, you see the difference between the carbon footprint of the cold chain. And the result is, of course, that it is much better to have a good cold chain for preserving food than a bad cold chain than no cold chain because of the general impact on the carbon footprint. So I'm not sure that these figures are totally right. There are a lot of assumptions, but according to all the documents we have, and not only within the IR but also in our partners such as the FAO, it is much better to have a good cold chain, including for environmental reasons. So what are our actions? We are ourselves involved in various European research projects. Some of them are already finished and the results can be downloaded free of charge on our website. The Frisbee project, which aims is to improve the cold chain in Europe, because even in developed countries, we have to improve it and to also decrease the energy consumption all along the cold chain. Cold Save, which is focused on the energy consumption in the food production, the food factories. Super Smart, it is the energy consumption in supermarkets. It is a new one, a new project. We built also a working group on the cold chain in hot climates, because most of the problems are in hot climates. And this IR working group, we agreed to have a cooperation with various United Nations agencies and programs, such as the FAO, UNIDO, the UNEP, and also we are working with the CIAM, which is another intergovernmental organization for agriculture in Mediterranean countries, South Europe, North Africa, and West Asia. We have organized conferences on the food cold chain, also dedicated to health products, because as I told you, it is the same kind of problem. A series of conferences, the latest one was this year in New Zealand, the next one will be in China in 2018. And we have this workshop on the cold chain in hot climates in Tunisia in October this year. The next one probably will be in Dubai. And we are working with FAO, with UNEP, with other IGOs, and we would like also to involve the private sector in these actions, because of course there is a need of investment in these countries. Carrier is a company which already organized last year and which organizes today at a conference in Singapore on that topic. And of course, the IR will be represented not by me, but by the president of the Commission on Food within the IR. And I will have also to present these issues during a seminar organized by EP, which is the European Association of Companies, within not next week, but the week just after, and also in Asha in January and so on. So this topic, which was a topic which was not very well known during the previous years, now we have an increasing interest within the various intergovernmental organizations and within the private sector. So I'm very happy with that. and I hope to have the possibility to work with all of you on that topic. You have some documents in the registration desk, and also, of course, within the area, you have a lot of documents and possibilities to participate in our works. Thank you.